Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, here with Jesse Moeller. Jesse, how's it going?
It was going good. Just dropped the daughter off at school, back at home. Got a little time to talk fantasy football. So I'm excited. How was your fantasy weekend?
Not too bad. I'm having a stroke here I love it when StreamYard doesn't give you these messages first, and then I went to hit live stream, and we're having an issue. I guess the league winner account didn't connect properly. So there's nothing I love better than hitting start stream and seeing an error message come up, but
Right.
oh well, we'll deal with that later. We're streaming on the accounts that matter. So I don't know. My week's all over the place. I feel like there was a lot of scoring, but not by a lot of good players. So wasn't a great week, wasn't a terrible week. It's just all over the place.
Yeah.
Um Kyron Williams, we had some surprising things and some not so surprising things, but it was kind of a messy week.
It
I
reminds me of
guess.
the Mike Singletary back in, or no, sorry, Dennis Green from the Cardinals. Like, he is who we thought he is. It's like Singletary is that dude. Sorry, Kyron Williams, not Singletary.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams is like, he's the RB1. It's just is what it is.
Yeah, it's that time of the year where it's what are we, week 13 going into? And I find it's getting difficult and frustrating in a lot of leagues. Got a lot of people have just checked out now. Then you've got Bipocalypse coming up or Bimageddon, and so you're trying to make moves, but just I've had a lot of frustration in some of these leagues. People
Yeah.
just acting like clowns and not
I
going
mean,
well.
yeah, we got Baltimore, Buffalo, Minnesota, Vegas, Chicago, New York next week on bye. So good luck, everybody. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can get right into this bad boy. Our first matchup, we had the Saints falling 24-15 to the Falcons. I believe that puts the Falcons in first place in the division.
Yep.
Yep. 5-6, and I believe they hold the tiebreaker now. So we have Ritter, both quarterbacks sucked. Ritter, 168, one touchdown, two interceptions. Derek Carr, 304 yards and still somehow sucks because he has no touchdowns and one interception. Gotta love that scoring. Alvin Kamara was decent, 15 carries, 69 yards, 4 for 50 through the air for 22 points. Bijan finally did what Bijan was supposed to do because he was on my bench. 16 carries for 91 and a touchdown on the ground, 3 for 32 and a touchdown in the air. Let's hope this continues. Tyler Algier had 10 for 64, so still some heavy usage on the ground. Jamal Williams didn't do anything. Kendre Miller was a healthy scratch, I believe. I don't know if he's healthy. I know he was scratched. Chris Olave, he went 7 for 114 and probably would have had a much bigger game, but he left with a concussion in the third quarter. Nothing else useful here on the Saints side. Shaheed didn't do much. Perry didn't do much. Drake London did something. He had 5 for 91 for 20 points, and nothing else of use out of the pass catchers there. The tight ends, Juwan Johnson finally showed up. He had 4 for 45 for 13 and a half points. Taysom Hill had 7 carries for 26 yards, 2 receptions for 55 yards, and then coughed up a crucial fumble because that's what Taysom Hill does. The kickers, Blake Groupie, I called, was a hit. He had 20 points. That beats my 8. So let me take my victory lap. 6.9 for Koo, who was not good. Saints defense was bad. 2 interceptions, 18 points allowed. And the Falcons defense was pretty solid. So what do you take away from this one?
It's so difficult for those Falcons pass catchers. 21 attempts. If you're literally throwing the ball 21 times, it's impossible. Like,
Yeah.
Drake London did what he did, and that's like him being a fantastic player. Look at Kyle Pitts; he had 2 targets. Like, that sucks, right? And we even though like I love Bijan and he's extremely talented and he can do this. Look at the workload and how they split it up. He was not a bell cow. Like, he was not super involved in the offense. He's just a talented player. Sometimes you got to bet on talent. So this is what the issues we had with the Atlanta offense coming in fruition. On the other side, Kamara does what he does. It's nice to see. It was finally happening for Olave because he got injured basically around halftime. He missed basically the entire second half of the game. So it could have been like a monster game for Olave. Like, he was great in what he did. So it's finally nice where the process of Olave is working, even though it has been a struggle for him. But you see how talented he is, and it's nice moving forward. And then tight ends is just Taysom Hill. He kind of burned you, but you knew it was risky going in. It's just what it is.
Can you ever remember another season where there were so many just absolute garbage quarterbacks playing on a weekly basis?
Dude, it's
Like,
rough.
it seems like we get to about 20 quarterbacks, and then in my rankings, I look at 21 to 32, and it's like, oh my God, Tommy DeVito is QB 22 this week, and there's actually 10 quarterbacks worse than him. It's like fucking awful. Like, you're at the point where in Superflex, you're starting Bryce Young, no matter how bad he is, because he's still probably better than the garbage that's out there. And that's
Yeah, I have a league like that, and it's rough road starting. Fun fact: the $150 million contract for Derek Carr. Would there be any difference if Jameis Winston was playing for this team? Like, why would you pay Derek Carr $150 million?
I like Jameis Winston better.
Yeah, like I don't understand what the point of that contract was, because it's done nothing for that team. Like they're just middle of the pack. Like they can win some games, they can lose some, but nothing's happening. So yeah, it just seems like they wasted a ton of money on Derek Carr.
So it looks like the Falcons could support 2 offensive players a week. Hopefully it's Bijan, and then it seems to be alternating between Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I don't really want much to do with this situation. It's kind of scary. The Saints, Kamara's a weekly must start. So is Olave. I'm going to assume he's out next week, which means I'm probably streaming Shaheed or Perry. I don't really love either of them. The Saints got really banged up everywhere. Like everyone got hurt. So
yeah, I think if you look at the snaps and the routes run, like Sheed was far above like the wide receiver two in that offense. Like, so he'll be the guy moving forward.
That he was. Yep, it was not a pretty game all around. That's for damn sure. All righty. Next up, we have Pittsburgh Steelers 16, Cincinnati Bengals 10. Steelers somehow moved to 7-4. They feel like a 2-win team, and yet somehow are 7-4, while the Bengals are 5-6. That's scary. Is it possible the Bengals and Bills both missed the playoffs? Go figure. So back to our previous quarterback conversation, Kenny Pickett and Jake Browning. That's proving my point. Kenny Pickett actually looked better. He had 278, somehow no touchdowns. So despite the fact that he probably had the best game of his career, he was still fantasy football poison. Jake Browning had 227 yards and a touchdown and an interception, also equally bad. He has no ability to throw a long ball. I think at this point, I'm going to say the unpopular opinion here and say that Najee Harris is the RB1 in Pittsburgh. And I'm going to keep taking him over Jaylen Warren because, excuse me, this Jaylen Warren thing doesn't seem to be happening. They're pretty damn stubborn and sticking with Najee. He had 15 carries for 99 and a touchdown. Warren had 13 for 49 and lost a fumble. So while they're getting equal usage almost, Najee's been better. Mixon had 8 carries for 16 yards. That's impressive. Saved his day, kind of, with 2 catches for 44 yards. Not great. Moving on to the receivers, who are also not great, except for maybe Chase. Chase had 4 for 81. No touchdowns, just some long catches, it looks like, for bonuses. Tyler Boyd had 3 for 23. Trenton Irwin, 1 for 25. Nothing else to see on that side. George Pickens had 3 for 58. Deontay Johnson, 4 for 50. So they're both splitting targets there, it would seem. Not a great day. Tight ends, probably the best tight end performance of the week was Pat Freiermuth on everyone's bench. 9 for 120. We had Drew Sample on the Bengals side go 1 for 11 and a touchdown to make him useful. Kickers, Boswell was good, put up almost 12 points. McPherson was bad. The Steelers defense were salvageable, and the Bengals defense was not. What's the interesting thing here for you in this? This is kind of indicative. These first 2 games indicate pretty much the entire week. It was messy. Every one of these games was a bloody nightmare.
Yeah, thank you to Pittsburgh for making the call we've been talking about for years and firing Matt Canada. Their offense is actually respectable now, and it's weird how one game after they fire him, they go over 400 yards for the first time in like 3 seasons, basically. Like it's just something Matt Canada could never do in this offense.
Funny because for the first time they're respectable, and yet, with the exception of Najee, none of them were really startable. Like I guess if you started Warren, Pickens, or Deontay, none of them killed you. Oh, Freiermuth. So it was still only two good games, and I guess it's better than what they normally have. But like Pickett was still completely unusable.
Yeah, it's just because they didn't have any touchdowns. Like that's the issue. If you're averaging over 400 yards of offense, like those touchdowns are going to come. So we'll see what happens next week. I think they're playing. Who they play next week? I think they have a good matchup. They have Arizona. So yeah, like I'm gonna be okay streaming Pickett in that matchup because it's wheels up. Like the offense actually can do stuff, so it's amazing. And yeah, back to Najee and Jalen, they legit split like carries. So if you look at the snap counts, it was almost dead even. Najee had a couple more routes run, it's dead even, and targets like Warren had a few more targets, but it's the timeshare like they always talk about. And I love how that tweet earlier in the year was like, or early in the day was like, oh yeah, they're gonna focus on getting Warren and Pickens the ball. And they did the exact same thing they've done the entire year where this is just not happening for those guys. So yeah, it's just Deontay's still the wide receiver one, even though he had that awful video where he just put in zero effort on one play. So I don't know what was going on that play, but they got some serious divas in Pittsburgh right now, those two wide receivers.
I just I got a tweet notification that's kind of interesting. Did you see that in whatever this scoring is? Jerome Ford put up 11.9 fantasy points for the 4th week in a row. Exactly 11.9. What are the odds of that?
So wild. It's consistency. He's the king, RB2 king.
Yeah, no kidding. But, I don't even know if that's RB2 numbers. I guess it's not bad, but
we're like back in, probably like running back 24.
Depends on if that was PPR or not. If it's PPR, I don't like that 11.9. No. So
standard, yes.
So both quarterbacks were not good. Jake Browning is not good, and I'm not playing him at all. Kenny Pickett, you're right. I'll probably roll with a bit. I prefer Najee here over Warren, and I think at this point I'm getting to a spot where I'm gonna say Warren over Mixon very soon. Like Mixon's getting the workload, but he just sucks.
Well, the offense is gross with Browning. Like they can't. Chase is the only guy you're gonna be able to start like each week, and even with him, like the floor is low. But back to Freiermuth. So they said if the Cincinnati showed the cover too high look, they were going to go to Freiermuth early in offense game, and that's what they did. So like this seems more of like a game script dependent game than it is like a one-off where Freiermuth's like the king of targets and all that. So just keep in mind it was because they ran a lot of cover 2 and like tight ends, they work well against cover 2. So I think that's the main reason why Freiermuth was so involved in this. But congrats to the OC for making the changes and feeding Freiermuth when it worked very well for him. So, good job with that.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to adjust my camera here. I wanted to sit back in my chair. My knee's bothering me, but my camera and my background are not cooperating. So I was like, I want to lay back so I can kind of stretch out and rest my knee here. It's bothering me. And then I went back like this and I disappeared into my background. So I'm like, guess not. So
just nobody.
Yeah. Who would have thought that in week 13, the Steelers would have more fantasy relevant options than the Bengals?
Yeah. Like I don't really want to start mixing. I don't want to touch Boyd. And like, it's just Chase. Like that's all, which is awful. Like the offense was so good going in the year too. It's like, man, they can't do anything now.
Yeah, that's truly horrific. It's just absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
Moving on to another game that was actually a little bit more fun. It was one of the few non-ugly games on the week. We have Jacksonville 24, Houston 21. Trevor Lawrence goes 364 and a touchdown for 26 points. CJ Stroud goes 304 and 2. Also had a rushing touchdown, 6 for 47. He was awesome. And so was Lawrence. Well, I guess Lawrence was good. I wouldn't say he was awesome. Both running backs were pretty damn good. ETN goes 20 for 56, and then he has 4 for 30. So he manages to get to 19 points without a touchdown. Dearness Johnson, I know ETN left for a little bit of this, and Dearness Johnson got a pretty decent workload. I thought he looked all right. 7 carries, 19 yards. I know I put him in my waiver column. Singletary had 6 for 18, but through the air, he had 6 for 54. How did he got 18 points just on I know this is a PPR league, but so that's 6. Yeah. That's an additional 5, so that's 11 points.
Ton of receptions.
9, 10.
It was awesome.
What did he get? He got bonus. Oh, there's stack bonuses here. You're in this league, I think, aren't you?
No, I'm not, but that's pretty cool.
There's a bonus for 1 catch, 5 catches. Dope. Oh, that must be it. It must be tiered catches. I was like, how did he get 18 points out of that? But funky scoring, apparently. Dameon Pierce does nothing. He got equal carries, but did equally bad, but he got nothing in the passing game. So Dameon Pierce appears to have run his ground. Run his course. I don't know. I don't know what the saying is, but I just butchered it.
I didn't know what he said. I was like, I got nothing. I don't know. Here, I'm gonna pull this comment really quick.
No idea. Don't know what I was trying to say, but Damian Pierce sucks. That's what the moral of the
Yes.
story was.
Yes, yes.
Calvin Ridley goes 5 for 89 and 1 touchdown. Christian Kirk goes 4 for 89 and no touchdowns. Yeah, there's some funky scoring in this one. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's weird scoring for sure.
Nico Collins goes 7 for 104 and a touchdown. Good God, Nico. Tank Dell, 1 for 12 on the ground, 5 for 50 and a touchdown. So we had 4 awesome receivers in this game. Then we get to the tight ends. Engram had 5 for 49. Luke Farrell had 3 for 55 somehow. Tight ends on Houston didn't do shit. Brandon McManus was good. He put up 15. Both defenses sucked, but you probably weren't starting either defense or you're an idiot. What are your takeaways on this? I'm going to switch back. Okay, sweet. Talk about that one. I'm going to switch screens because I'm getting sick of looking at these funky scoring settings. And I want to switch over to another board that's not so fucked up.
I don't like your chances going against Hawkinson in full PPR. Like, I hate to break it to you. I mean, you need a good game from Santos to be realistic to give you a shot. You're up 6.4, but man, Hawkinson could go off in this matchup. So
I switched to a different league, and
I'm very worried. But I will wish you luck.
Singletary just dropped to 13 points in that.
Yeah, like he did really good for like receiving, but he did nothing on the ground. So like it totally makes sense.
Okay. Thankfully, I'm up 6.4 points in my matchup full PPR, but my opponent still has Hawkinson. That's not good. I have Ty Chandler and Santos still left. I think Hawkinson outscores Chandler by 6.4, but I have Santos as one of my locked-in kickers in my article, which means he's all but guaranteed to put up 8 points. So I think the combination of Chandler and Santos outscores Hawkinson.
Yeah, you just need Hawkinson not to go off, and that's what we're.
Well, you need Hawkinson and Chandler to cancel each other out, or you need Hawkinson to not outscore Chandler by more than If he outscores him by 6, that's fine because I still think Santos wins.
He needs to stay out of the end zone, basically. Like you need no end zone touchdown. Like that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, this sucks. Sorry, Nino. I've been there. I played the wrong defense. You should listen to Aaron. He's like 21-24 on his defenses. So start following his streaming advice. Yeah, he's killing it with defense.
Which defense did you play? Oh, I hope he didn't listen. He played the one I got wrong in the last 6 weeks. I had New Orleans this week, and they were my first miss since week 7 or 8. So he probably played New Orleans.
Right. But yeah, I'll hit these teams real quick. Yeah, so Lawrence, I know people were so down on him going in the interesting.
1 sec.
I mean,
let me look at that. Where'd the Lions play here? Thursday? Right? Are the Lions drop?
I don't know who they're playing this week. I need to check.
1 sec. Can you answer this question? I have something coming through. 1 sec.
The Lions one? Yeah. So for me, it's all matchup dependent. So I'm gonna look at a different screen because I want to get something really fast to answer that. And then I'll get back to you. Like each team's matchup dependent. The Lions defense has not been very good this year, and they have New Orleans, so it's not the best matchup in the world. I would be a little bit worried. If Baltimore's matchup is good, then yeah, I would prefer Baltimore because their defense has just been better.
I'm back. I got one of those important phone calls in the middle of my show to let me know that the IRS has seized all my assets, and that would probably not be a spam call, and I would maybe believe it if it wasn't for the fact that I'm Canadian and I don't pay the IRS anything. So I don't care. We don't have the IRS in Canada, so cute. Yeah. All right, sorry. I'm looking at the matchups here for the Lions defense. Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys. So I don't want to be playing them should you make it to the championship.
Yeah, they have the Ravens defense.
Saints, Bears, Broncos. The Saints are a medium matchup. The Bears are a good matchup. Broncos are an improving matchup, and so are the Vikings. Matchup. If you can find a better option, the Lions are droppable. Is my answer.
They've been one of the worst fantasy defenses in the league. So yeah.
Well, they've been significantly worse in the second half. Their pass defense, people have stopped running on them because you can't run on them, and they're just lighting them up through the air. So yes, the Lions are droppable. Oh, you have Ravens defense. Yeah, you definitely can drop them now.
Because I think the Ravens are on bye this upcoming week, so that's the issue for them. So that's the problem.
I don't know. Let me look.
Because they're definitely on a bye. It's checked. Yep.
Are they?
Yeah, they're on a bye.
You can still drop
So
the Lions and just find something better on the waiver wire.
yeah, I would look for just the best streaming option.
Check back for my article later this week. If you check my Twitter, I will be releasing through King Fantasy Sports my crossing the streams probably Wednesday or Thursday, and that should give you 4 options to stream. And they're normally pretty good to hit.
Yeah, Aaron's really good at the defenses. Like
Started Lions versus Bears and finally bench Jets because it's Miami.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
They did. Yeah, like it's they actually did pretty well the Jets matchup, so I get it. But yeah,
I started. Those were 2 of my defenses. I had the Jets and the Dolphins DST, and both of them were actually hits because the Jets wasn't one of the. They both had a defensive touchdown. I think that saved them. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, we talked about it on the recap or like when we were previewing the game. We're like, yeah, you could probably play both defenses. Like, Tua struggles against
Packers over Lions. Having said that, I don't know who the Packers have this week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
The Packers have KC.
Oh no,
no, I would not. I stand corrected. I am not going.
KC finally scored the second half this week. But yeah, I'll hit up these teams real quick. So yeah, Lawrence looks good. He's finally scoring fantasy points because he's getting touchdowns. It's amazing what happens when you get touchdowns. They shift your fantasy points. Like he's playing a lot better recently. Stroud's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like these 2 guys are lights out. Like I'm starting both of them moving forward. Like no problem. Interestingly enough, with Singletary, he ran 77% of the routes. That's absurd for a running back. Running backs don't do that. So with how pass heavy Houston gets, like Singletary's the guy that offense I want so much more than Dameon Pierce. Like you can drop Dameon Pierce. I don't care about him. Singletary is like a moving RB2 for me. It's wheels up.
Yes. So keep the Ravens on through their bye. They're like DST2 right now, and they're pretty much matchup proof. Just pick someone else up. What's up, Z? I am a Kyron fan, but am I crazy for thinking he isn't the RB1 folks are making him out to be? Arizona's that's true. Royce did get a lot. I don't know. If he's an RB1, he's a low end RB1 for me based on volume. But is it not only was Arizona's defense soft, Cooper Kupp was almost not playing yesterday.
Yeah, I mean he got like 6 targets. That's not.
And went out after pretty much every time he touched the ball for the rest of the series. Like he was.
Yeah, because he only had 61% of snaps. Like it wasn't a ton of work. It's just he was super efficient, which is weird because in the last 2 games he's been incredibly efficient. Before that, he was inefficient the entire year. So I don't know what's shifted for him and how they're using him. But yeah, like I think Z makes a good point. Like he's not a high end RB1, but he's a guy you're comfortable starting in your lineup.
Yeah, I don't know if I have him as an RB1. I probably have him. I have him top 15. He's somewhere in between 10 and 15, so he might sneak into the RB1 for me. But I don't know. I don't love that offense. So
let me look at this. Yeah, like. So routes run, Kyron tripled what Freeman's running because I was just checking that. So like, yeah, he's very much going to be involved in passing downs and get that work over like Royce. If Royce doesn't get that touchdown though, like he puts up 7.
So, like, yeah. Did you see this?
Cleveland, yeah.
Baltimore,
Cleveland,
Washington
Dallas.
doesn't mean anything. New Orleans, there's 3 matchups I don't want any part of for a running back. Cleveland, Baltimore, New Orleans. Ugh.
That's rough.
No, thank you.
He can get there with the receiving work. Yeah, I'm not playing Royce like that. Just
sell high on Kyron is the moral of the story.
If you can, yeah, like it's such a weird thing. Him like because people still don't value him that much. That's the hardest part. But yeah, if you can move him for a valuable asset, like absolutely do that.
What to do with Kupp? See, this is one where I wish I knew that Jefferson was out before today, because if you knew Jefferson was out and they didn't announce it 20 minutes ago, I would have said flip Kupp to someone who has Jefferson and needs to win. What I would do is send Kupp next week to someone who's getting hit by the bye week receivers.
Any one of those,
most
likely, the
Buffalo team, the Diggs team. They're most likely in the playoffs. Depends, like most likely. Like I don't want to risk missing the playoffs, but if you think you're confidently in, I'd try and sell them for something.
Yeah, because you can go find the Devontae Adams owner. They're going to be on a bye. Jordan Addison, like they're on a bye, so like that's an interesting situation with those guys. Same thing with Jefferson.
I like Devontae Adams much more.
Yeah, like you can. So if you're going to move Kupp, you can move him in. Like you could probably package him. I mean, Diggs is almost impossible to get.
Oh, you're right. They're on a bye. You might be able to do it for Jefferson next week too, because they're on a bye.
And Zay Flowers is on a bye too. So like you can find those teams and go move Kupp into one of those teams and go get an asset that you know.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just
all right. Yeah, back at it here. We're falling.
Yeah. So ETN, he's getting his workload trimmed down a little bit because he was on pace to just go way over touches, like an absurd amount of touches. So they're kind of limiting his usage, but overall he's still fine. I wouldn't worry about him. He's an RB1. He's a mid-level RB1. He just gets good work and his role is good. Yeah, the thing with Tank Bigsby is he's dead. So if you have him in Dynasty, you can just straight up drop him. Like he's losing out to Dearness Johnson. It's over for Tank Bigsby. I hate to break it to you folks, but it was a fun little offseason. But yeah, that's done. And yeah, like we talked about this in the pre-show with Calvin Ridley. Like Zay Jones makes a world of difference where he's actually a reliable. He's going to be probably a mid-range wide receiver too for me, and I might have him over Kirk moving forward.
AJ was good yesterday, though, wasn't he? On this question here. No, okay, I get your point. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I find it's more of a case of the absence of Goddard is beneficial to Devonta more than Goddard 100%. Being there is beneficial to AJ. I just think at some point they were probably, with Goddard out, they were probably double covering AJ to the point where Devonta Smith was the only open receiver.
Well, and on the flip side for Jacksonville, they don't have another a wide receiver that can play on the outside. Like they don't have the capable guy. If it's not Ridley and if it's not Zay Jones, they don't have another guy. So like the fact they have Zay Jones who could play the X, that allows Ridley to move into the flank position. He can go in the slot and he can actually succeed. Like that's the huge difference because he's not the wide receiver who was before. So I think Zay Jones makes a world of difference for Calvin Ridley.
All right, what's the?
But yeah, I 100% get that point.
Sorry, I'll get us to the next game. We have the Colts 27-20 over the Bucks, who at 4-7 are a game out of first place in the division. Baker Mayfield 199, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Gardner 251 and an interception. I think they're both decent streamers for next week in bye week hell. Taylor 15 for 91 and 2 touchdowns, probably his best game of the year. Zach Moss was still marginally useful with 8 for 55 and 2 for 15 through the air. Rachaad White 15 for 100 and 2 for 10 in the air. So Rachaad White seems to be, voluming his way to relevance here. What is he on the season? Top 12? 6.
No, he's high. Yeah, he's high.
6. Good God, what are we doing? Mike Evans is the only Bucks receiver I want to own at this point. He had 6 for 70 and 2 touchdowns. Godwin had 3 for 45, 4 for 17 for Palmer. Pittman goes 10 for 107. Josh Downs 5 for 43. Alec Pierce 4 for 27. Tight ends Kate Otten had 4 for 45, so not a bad day for him. He's a stash for me. Both kickers were decent in McLaughlin and Gay. The Bucks defense was not great, and Indy's defense was pretty decent based on 6 sacks and a fumble. Oh, and an interception. What do you think here? It's kind of a messy game, but really we see the quarterbacks are streamers. Each team has one stud running back. Each team looks like they have one stud receiver, and you kind of just stash the rest. Whether it be Godwin, Downs, you just kind of stash the rest, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So Moss saw – sorry, I can't talk for some reason. Moss saw a decent amount of snaps in this game where he was like splitting work with Taylor. So I don't know why they went back to this because they literally phased him out of the offense. And in this game, they brought his snaps and usage way back up. So that's interesting moving forward. If that's the case for Taylor, like I'm going to have him lower in my rankings than it would be. I'll probably at this point, I'm just going to prefer Rachaad White over Jonathan Taylor. Just because White's usage is out of control. He saw like almost 90% of the snaps. All the routes run. Like he's literally getting RB1 high in them. Yeah, CZ. It's always good to talk to him.
He's a funny guy. Yeah, so, he's been on my pod. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but yeah, like I'm just going to prefer Rachaad White over Jonathan Taylor because the usage and the role is just better, which sucks for Jonathan Taylor because I think he's a much better player. But like you can't really like hate on this role he has. Like it's out of control. It's only a few running backs get more usage and work than he does. And yeah, like offensively with the wide receivers, it's Pittman, it's Evans. Interesting enough, Downs had 13 targets, which is wild. He was just super inefficient in this game. So he tied for Pittman with the team leading targets. It's nice, Minshew's thrown it 40 plus times. Downs can get there. He just had a bad game, so I wouldn't worry too much about him. Godwin, I'm just kind of on Godwin. He's like a wide receiver 3 at best. And like you're talking about, you stream the rest with Godwin and Mallory and all those guys. It's just kind of what it is.
Okay. Next, we will get into good God. Take a deep breath.
I just saw the game.
Giants 10, Patriots 7. Oh my God. 4-8 record for the Giants, who are 2 games better than the Patriots. Good
Goodness.
God. Tommy DeVito goes 191 and a touchdown. Bailey Zappi puts up 0.16 and still outscored Mac Jones, who put up negative 0.44. 12 for 89 and 2 interceptions. Oh my God. Don't start. Remember what I said about how bad the quarterbacks were this year?
Yeah.
Ramondre finally does something. He goes 21 for 98 and a touchdown, enjoying the easy part of his schedule a couple weeks in a row. Him and Tony Pollard are both deadline sell highs for me because they both had some easy matchups the last few weeks. Zeke Elliott goes 9 for 46. Saquon Barkley was not great. His current but his current team worries me. He went 12 for 46, 1 for 6 through the air. Not good. Jalen Hyatt finally did something, most of it on one long catch, but 5 for 109. Hodgins, Robinson, Slayton, Shepard, Campbell, bunch of mostly useless guys. Hodgins was saved by a touchdown. Demario Douglas, 6 for 49, a decent stat line, but no touchdown, so he didn't kill you, but he wasn't very useful. Much like the Giants, everyone else was not useful here. The tight ends were all completely useless. Not one of them on the Patriots registered a target. 1 for 8 yards is the best tight end performance of this week. The kickers don't get any better. Bullock sucked. Ryland didn't register anything.
Yeah.
Anything. He sucked. This league must have negative stats for missed field goals because he did hit an extra point. Both defenses were great because, of course, they were because these offenses suck. So if you listened and started the Patriots or Giants, you're likely happy. But what would you like to talk about in this game?
Oh God, you're making me do this.
Barb?
Yeah.
Barb?
So the Patriots have broken Mac Jones. He was very good as a rookie, and they have seemingly just destroyed his confidence and awful things where he's just one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst quarterback in the league. He's with Zach Wilson. Like they literally broke Mac Jones. Like it's wild to think about how much he's regressed when he came in and he was like a quality passer. Can't do anything. So yeah, good job, Patriots. Well done. Go get whoever they're bringing in quarterback next year. Like they need to massively reassess the situation because it is awful. And this quarterback is going to struggle no matter if it's Caleb Williams or whoever it is. They are going to struggle because the line sucks, the skill position players suck. It's bad. And yeah, same thing with New York. Like, I don't know. It's really difficult with Barkley. He's really the only guy you can count on. But even then, the offense just doesn't get enough plays. Like, if you look at the pass attempts and the rush attempts, they're not even hitting 50. Like, we got maybe 40 total plays the Giants ran. And that's so difficult as an offense just to do anything. So, yeah, good luck for Barkley. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. Ramondre, I think he's the Chargers next week, so he'll probably have a good game again. But, yeah, if you can move high on him, do it. Like, it's just about offense. And Douglas and Hyatt, like, they're, you can stream them, but, like, there's not much upside with either one of those guys. I think Douglas is a very good player. Hyatt has upside. But
they're home run swings, but they could easily bust, so.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's risk with them. It's just, these teams are just bad. Like, you really don't want players on these teams, to put it that way.
No, you want the DSTs in this game, and that's it.
Yes.
The DSTs and maybe a running back if you're forced into it. But
yeah, like,
as you see, it didn't work out for Saquon, and it was all right for Ramondre. Let's get into a far more exciting one, he said jokingly. Oh, look at this. Tennessee 17, Carolina 10. 1-10 Carolina. I guess that answers my question on whether or not the Patriots are in line for the number 1 pick. Yeah. The Panthers, who fired their coach today because it was his fault. Like Frank Reich could coach this fucking team. Bryce Young goes 194 yards and 1 lost fumble. Will Levis 185. Good God, both these quarterbacks are terrible. Have we had a good quarterback stat line so far? Jacksonville, Houston.
Yeah, that's those two. They stand out. I'm looking at the other games. I mean, Pickett was good. He just didn't have any touchdowns.
These two suck. These two suck.
Yes.
These two were awesome. These two were they suck. But
it's just not great though, yeah.
Okay, so we're like 7 games in, and we have 2 usable quarterbacks aside from the Thursday, Friday games.
There's just so many bad quarterback play right now. God. It's just awful across the league.
Chuba goes 14 for 45, saved by a touchdown, and 5 for 47 through the air. Miles Sanders gets 15 carries and gets 28 yards. That's impressive. Derrick Henry, 18 for 76 and goes beast mode for 2 touchdowns. Little to no usage here for Tajay Spears. Mingo goes 4 for 60. Chark 3 for 34. And Thielen goes a meager 1 for 2. D-Hop disappointing on the other side, 3 for 49. 4 for 41 for Westbrook Akine. Barf. Okonkwo goes 4 for 45. No other useful tight ends. Both kickers were not very good. The Panthers' DST sucked, and Tennessee's defense was pretty good based on 4 sacks, a fumble, and 4 fourth down stops. This league gives you credit for 4th down stops. Okay.
That's wild. They went for 4 times.
I don't
Jeez,
read
I didn't
half
know
the
that.
scoring settings in half these leagues, dude. I'm just in them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And apparently I won this week. But anyways,
Hey.
what is your takeaway from this game besides the fact that maybe let's just move on to another game? We seem to have a lot of these where it's like, oh, I don't even know what to say here.
I mean, there's a couple guys that are usable, but yeah, like shout out to David Tepper. In the last 18 months, he has fired 4 separate head coaches across two leagues, not just the NFL. It's the MLS. He is 1980s George Steinbrenner reincarnated, where he is just wheeling and dealing, going all in, and then giving him the worst possible roster for a rookie quarterback and expecting him to succeed. Like, this is the worst situation. So this was bound to happen at some point with him. Interestingly enough, Miles Sanders just sucks. Like, he's not good. So if I'm going with a running back in this backfield, it's clearly Chuba Hubbard. He's been better. He fits that offense better. Not even close. Henry had a smash matchup. Henry did his thing. So, like, Henry's matchup dependent. He gets Indy next week. Same thing. Like, you're going to fire him up. These wide receivers, it's rough. The takeaway, Adam Thielen, I don't know what happened. He only had 3 targets. Like, that's the biggest takeaway of all of this. Like, Thielen was getting an insane amount of usage. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore because they're changing everything with that offense. So, Thielen might be just a guy you can't play. Hopkins it just sucks just because Will Levis is not a good quarterback either. So, you really just want the running backs in these offenses. Outside of that, I don't want much to do with this offenses.
I'm avoiding both quarterbacks. I think I'm starting Derrick Henry, and I'm only streaming Hubbard if I have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't really want anything more than Thielen or Hopkins on my bench, the receivers, as an injury and bye week replacement. I want nothing to do with the tight ends, nothing to do with the kickers, nothing to do with the defenses. So basically, if I don't have Derrick Henry in this game, I don't really want anyone else. And even Derrick Henry's RB14, so it's not like he's been good. So
yeah, because he got 2 touchdowns. He wasn't really even that good either.
These may be 2 of the worst rosters for fantasy that I've ever seen.
Yeah, them and the Giants. Throw them in there. It's just those 3 just really
and
just hold it down. Yeah, it's the big 4. It's a top 4. We can go with that.
Good God. We had this last year. Hunter had a league where you had to draft, was it 16? No, 8 teams, and you had to draft. You had to pick 4 teams, and you could only have players from those 4 teams. Could you imagine if these were the 4 teams you drafted?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you would. Going into the year, I would be like, why would you take these 4 teams? But yeah, if they ended up like that, yeah,
you wouldn't.
Like if you look, so like I'll just say this: Hubbard dominated snaps. He had 47. Miles Sanders had 27 snaps. So like, yeah, like it's Hubbard's backfield. I don't know how much that means, but it's backfield. Yeah.
All right. Rams 37, Cardinals 14. Maybe we have some half decent quarterbacks. How about that? Stafford goes 229, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Kyler goes 256, 1 touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. Kyron Williams was eased back in with 16 carries, 143 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Royce Freeman was also good, 13 carries for 77 and a touchdown, most of which came kind of in garbage time. Connor had 6 for 27 for the Cardinals and wasn't great, 4 for 5 through the air. Michael Carter, 4 carries for 19 yards, also seen some receiving work. So Carter's an interesting speculative ad for me to hold on to. I'd like to see if they do anything with him here. The receivers were all over the place. 3 for 76 for Tutu Atwell, 4 for 27 for Nakua, 3 for 18 for Cooper Kupp. Hollywood goes 6 for 88. Dortch goes 3 for 27 and is saved by a touchdown. The tight ends were probably the stars here. 7 for 60 for Trey McBride, 5 for 29 and 2 touchdowns for Higbee, which was particularly interesting because before the game, I remember seeing Jeremy tweet something about how bad Higbee was and how you could drop him. So naturally, Higbee was going to go off just to make Jeremy look stupid.
Well, yeah, Rappaport mistakenly said he was going on the IR. So Rappaport
I see that.
And then
and then he corrected and said, never mind, you can leave him on your bench. I
Yeah,
hope you didn't, but you probably did. Both kickers were terrible. Both defensive. Look at the Cardinals here: negative defense and kicker points. That's interesting.
that is
Um,
brutal.
what is there to talk about in this one? The quarterbacks are good. The running backs and receivers are interesting, but the receivers can't seem to figure out who's going to
What's
play
going on?
or who's going to be best each week.
Yeah, Stafford's just really just struggling, and I mean, he had a good game because he had 4 touchdowns, but like it's been hard for these wide receivers, Puka and Cup, and Cup's dealing with the injury. Puka's getting like all the targets and stuff. It's not hitting right now. So you're just really living on the bad side of variance with him. You just gotta trust it. He still led them in targets, like he just won him. Interestingly enough, with that backfield, it got out of hand early. So Kyron had the majority of snaps throughout the first half. In the second half, and more where they were like splitting work. So I don't think that Freeman usage is really gonna stick. It's more Kyron's backfield. I would not worry about it too much. Yeah, so like it just is what it is. Freeman had a touchdown, which was nice to see. Yeah, it sucks for Connor because we thought we were getting bell cow usage from Connor. It's really not looking like that. It's more looking like he's splitting work with Carter. So, it's kind of more he's just going to get knocked down moving forward. And, Hollywood's that guy. Trey McBride, he's still had 9 targets. I wouldn't worry about him. Like, he's the focal point of that offense. So, like, the players you want in this offense. It's Nakua, it's Cup, it's Hollywood, it's McBride, and then it's Kyron and maybe Connor, but like it's a little more iffy after that.
Actually, I was impressed with McBride. He still had a pretty decent game, and he's all the way up into tight end 11 now, despite the fact that he essentially wasn't used until week 8. Depends. He had one game before that where he was kind of used, but like he didn't crack 40%. Well, okay, he did early one game, but like he was unusable, like not used at all till somewhere between week 6 and week 8, and he's been awesome since.
I really blame the head coach last year because he was historically inefficient last year. Like as a rookie, he was awful. And then they're like, guess what? We're gonna go with Zach Ertz, who is old and dusty to start the year. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then they finally realize, like, hey, maybe let's not go with Zach Ertz. I'm like, oh, look at that, weird. You got a young guy that's good.
Oh. I feel like I need to take a deep breath before each one of these games. On to another one.
Just great quarterback play. Hey,
didn't see this one going this way. 29-12, Broncos over Browns. Browns, I thought, were one of the best teams in the NFL. Fooled you. DTR, 134 and 1 touchdown. He was not good. Russell Wilson, 134 and 1 touchdown and one rushing touchdown. He was also not good. Obviously, Wilson didn't kill you nearly as much as DTR. The running backs were average all around, I guess. Ford had 9 for 65. Let's see if his stats are as funky in this as they are in the other league. Oh, no. See, that must have just been unique to that. He's a little bit different here, but he had 5 weeks in a row the same one on the other league. 9 for 65 and 4 for 14 for Ford. 7 for 22 for Hunt. Samaje Perini, the Italian, had 7 for 55 and was saved by a touchdown. Javonte Williams, who is not Italian, had 8 for 65, 3 for 6 through the air, which is interesting because he was getting no pass catching work and then got the pass catching work this week. I don't understand what Denver is doing. The receivers were all mostly disappointing. Tillman, 4 for 55. Eli Moore, 3 for 44 and a fumble lost. Cooper goes 2 for 16, which means they must have been in Denver. Cortland Sutton, 3 for 61. Mims, 1 for 11 on the ground, 2 for 24 in the air, 2 for 11 for Judy. This is ugly. This game is just ugly. Yeah. Njoku continues to be better with DTR. Njoku is the only one who's been good since DTR, and I called this. Njoku, 6 for 59. Troutman, 1 for 8, saved by a touchdown. Both kickers were not great. 6 points for Hopkins, 9 for Lutz. The Browns' defense sucked. The Broncos' defense was awesome. I did not see that coming. What do you take away from this one? This confused me.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries for Cleveland in this game. Dorian Thompson-Robinson took a shot. He exited the game. Amari Cooper got blasted in the ribs, and it looked super painful. Like he could not move. So I don't know how bad his injury is, but he might be out moving forward. I don't really think you were starting Cooper either way, but the offense just takes a bigger hit moving forward. It's just going to get even more run heavy with Ford. He saw the highest percentage of snaps across his entire career in this game, and this was game script. It's rough. With Walker, if he's the quarterback next week, the only guy I really want to start is Njoku, and I don't even feel great about him because Walker is statistically the worst quarterback, worse than Zach Wilson this year. Like he is really bad. So if you have him moving forward, this offense is just basically unusable. On the
It's
flip
funny
side,
though, because you said Walker, if Walker starts, you only want Njoku. Njoku was better with DTR.
yeah,
Njoku is unusable with Walker. Pretty much everyone else is better with Walker at quarterback. So
so
I
weird.
think right now DTR is the fucking too many players on this team. David Njoku is the only one I want to own with DTR at quarterback. If
Yes.
it's Walker, I think I'm more interested in Ford or Cooper.
Yeah, like I'm still in on Ford. Like he's like that just boring RB2 who's just gonna get work and you just need touchdowns, but like he can still give you a baseline. With Denver, they only threw it 22 freaking times. Like they're not passing it, so it is so difficult for these wide receivers. Like look at this Russell Wilson stat line: 13 for 22. If you're throwing it 22 times, you're killing your wide receivers. And it's nice for Javonte though, because Javonte saw all that passing down work like you're talking about. So if that continues, we got Javonte at least. He just needs to be more efficient. It's it'll come. It's fine. P. Ryan did not see the targets, so that was weird because he was like the third most targeted running back in the NFL. So maybe it's switching. I don't really know. And yeah, Sutton's the guy in that offense of the wide receivers. But like I said, it's not exciting. It's really difficult. And I'm not even talking about traveling. He's just useless.
That was just the ugly game. One ugly game after another.
Yes.
We ended here with a couple of. We had 2 or 3 left, and they're much better, including the best game of the week. But we'll slightly improve, but not all that much. We have Chiefs 31, Raiders 17. Mahomes was good. He goes 25 points. That might be QB2 on the week. Actually, it's not because the Thursday guys did some scoring. But Mahomes 298 and 2. Aiden O'Connell 248 and 1. He did not get a liter of cola at halftime. Isaiah Pacheco goes 15 for 55, but is saved by 2 touchdowns, 5 for 34 through the air. This was like Vulture City. Edwards-Helaire had a touchdown but didn't get in, so Pacheco vultured it. And then the next drive, Mahomes had a touchdown but didn't get it, was ruled down, and Pacheco vultured it again. So both Pacheco's touchdowns were vultured off of somebody else being downed on the goal line. So that's wonderful. Jacobs had 20 for 110 and a touchdown. That's nice. Abdullah did nothing. The receivers, Rashee Rice, 8 for 107 and a touchdown. Watson did nothing except score 1. Moore, 3 for 34. MVS, 1 for -1. That's good. Jacoby Myers has 6 for 79 and a touchdown. Devontae Adams goes 5 for 73. Renfro, 4 for 38. Some messy stat lines here. Kelsey, 6 for 91, because that's Kelsey. Michael Mayer, whatever, 2 for 27. Noah Gray actually outproduced him with 3 for 30. Both kickers were not good. Both defenses were not good, which is weird because I kind of like the Chiefs. I was surprised that they were not better than this. What is your takeaway from this lovely, lovely game?
KC got off to a really bad start. I think they were down 14-0 to start the game, and then they finally flipped the switch and figured it out. But yeah, it's really the takeaway is the injuries helped the Kansas City like running back and wide receivers in Pacheco and Rashee Rice. Like Rashee Rice he saw the most routes, most snaps. Like he saw what we were hoping for finally. And Pacheco just took over the passing down usage without McKinnon. So like that's really nice to see for these guys moving forward. They're going to be higher end assets than they were going into this game. So yeah, like that's trustworthy stuff. So just keep in mind if those guys are out, the other players, that boosts those 2 players. On the flip side, like I thought Devontae Adams was the target hog, but Jacoby Myers reasserted himself and said, hey, I'm still a good wide receiver. And even Hunter Renfro got to the game. So interesting enough with Adams. It's just been a disappointing year. Like there's no other way to just put the shine on it. And yeah, Jacobs gets absurd volume. So he's going to be in rankings every week. He's going to be a middling to like low end RB1. Like he saw, 26 attempts in this game, like touches. Like that's beautiful. We love to see that. He's just getting just ridiculous amounts of volume. He house called like a 62-yarder in this game.
The top 12 at running back, aside from like McCaffrey, is the ugliest shit I've ever seen this year.
Yeah. I mean, Jacobs has done it for like 3 straight years. He just did it.
It was ugly running back.
Yeah.
That's how good his day was here, Pacheco. When I checked this for the preview show, he was RB23. He moved up 10 spots this week. That's how close they all are clustered together.
100%. Yeah, but like Rashee Rice, like he's the takeaway of all the takeaways. Like
this, like there's like 2 RB1s this year and 35 RB2s is what it is.
Yeah.
If you have Christian McCaffrey, or if you don't have Christian McCaffrey, you have an RB2. That's it.
Yeah. We'll talk about Eckler and how disappointing that stuff is going on with him right now. It's just been bad.
Next, I almost want to skip this game and go to Sunday Night Football.
And save him for the
No,
last big
fine.
game.
We'll finish. We'll shoot the wad here a little early and go for the big one. Buffalo, Philly. Finally, something that doesn't look at these quarterbacks. There we go. Our
It's
QB
absurd.
1-2 on the week, except for Dak, maybe.
Brutal.
37-34 Philly. I read the score wrong. I thought Buffalo pulled it out. I didn't realize Philly won it, but we have Josh
They
Allen,
should have won.
339, 2, and an interception in a losing effort. Jalen Hurts goes 200 yards and 3 touchdowns and an interception, plus 65. That's an odd stat line. 65 yards on the ground, plus 2 touchdowns and a fumble lost. So does he have? Oh, one sec. Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button in time. Did he have a combined 265 yards for 5 touchdowns and 2 turnovers?
Yeah. It's bonkers, the stat line for him. It's just wild. He was not good in this game. Like, he struggled throughout, and he pulled it out late. But yeah, it was a weird game for Hurts. He just kept getting touchdowns. He's a touchdown monster, dude.
I low-key hate playing against Jalen Hurts, and I don't think he's a good quarterback, and he doesn't play well. He lives on touchdown volume off of goal line carries and tush pushes. He is the most annoying player to play against because he can have a stat where his combined production is 250 yards, but somehow he puts up 42 points even after 250 yards, 2 turnovers, and he still puts up 42 points because he had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's been worse this year, but for fantasy it doesn't matter because he's just getting all of the touchdowns. So it honestly does not matter. He's been incredible. For fantasy, he's just awesome. Like, the way his usage is, anywhere he gets around the goal line, you know he's getting a touchdown. Like, it's just like,
the ball over so much. He has a fumble in like 5 games in a row.
Yeah. It's been very up and down with him, but like, the thing with Hurts is everything around him is so good. It's kind of similar to Purdy. It boosts him up in a way. Like, they have the best offensive line in football. The skill position players are elites. Like, it just gives him this baseline that's super high. So it doesn't have to be great. He can still succeed. And that's the thing with Hurts. And then he just takes over because he's a freaking monster. He's huge. You're not stopping him around the goal line. He's a tank. Like, it's similar to Allen. Like, it works out so well for him. He's great.
On to the running backs. James Cook has 16 carries for 43 yards and then 6 for 57 through the air. Latavius Murray goes 9 for 30 with 3 for 18 through the air. DeAndre Swift, 14 carries for 80 yards. And that was basically it. Nobody else was anything good on the running backs. For receivers, we have Gabe Davis goes 6 for 105 and a touchdown. That's pretty predictable. Philly's pass defense sucks. Diggs also good, 6 for 74 and a touchdown. Shakir even usable with 3 for 47. Devonta Smith goes 7 for 106 and a touchdown. AJB goes 5 for 37 and is saved by a touchdown. And Olamide Zacchaeus goes 1 for 29 and the touchdown to make him relevant.
Can we talk about the fact that Gabe Davis ran the wrong route in the end zone? And it would have been a game-winning touchdown walk-off, and he just ran the wrong way, and Allen literally threw it to spot, and he's like, what the hell, Gabe Davis? So, yeah, they should have won the game, and Gabe Davis cost them the game because he ran the wrong route. So that was fun. But, this is like what we talk about with Gabe Davis. If it's a good matchup, like, you can play him, and he hits. Like, this happens. Exactly what it went. He freaking led the team in like targets, yards, touchdown. Like, he did everything you wanted. And on the flip side, Devonta Smith is getting hyper targeted because there's no Dallas Goedert. So Dallas Goedert's out, Devonta Smith, and that's why I had him so high in rankings, like back to back with AJ Brown, because they freaking.
Who would you say is a better route runner, Gabe Davis or Jonathan Mingo?
Oh, it's Gabe Davis. You've seen the Mingo stuff; it's so gross.
All right, the tight ends here we have Kincaid goes 5 for 38. Nothing useful out of anyone else. Tyler Bass was decent with 10 points, 9 for Elliott, and both defenses. Hopefully, you were leaving both of them on their bench. On your bench, I started the Bills in one league only because I had to, and because I had a healthy lead going into the week, so I just took my lumps with them instead of streaming a second defense. So, what else do you take away here? We talked the receivers, kind of.
Yeah, Kincaid. His usage is still good. It was an odd game for him, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Still saw 6 targets. It's fine. It should have been a lot better for him, but sometimes they have down weeks. It's all good. It's a good offense. So I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, you want the two high end quarterbacks. Then it looks like there's a couple of running backs and a couple of they got a handful of. There's a lot of fantasy assets in this game,
Yeah,
and
you
somehow
want
they
pieces
all
of these
basically
offenses.
came to like Kincaid was usable. You had three Buffalo receivers, two Eagles receivers, two running backs, one on each team, a quarterback. Like, I don't know how there were this many fantasy points, but apparently neither team decided to play defense. So
No, it's yeah, exactly that. It's just it's wild.
we
It's
will close
terrible.
it out with the last game of the day. Baltimore 20, Los Angeles Chargers 10 on Sunday Night Football. This was not a pretty game. Jackson goes 177 for one touchdown. Justin Herbert goes 217 for one touchdown, but an interception and a fumble. I can't remember ever seeing so many fumbles from quarterbacks as I have the last week or so.
It seems like there's a lot.
Keaton Mitchell goes 9 for 64. Gus Edwards goes 8 for 26. Justice Hill 5 for 31 in a running back room I'd like to avoid. Austin Eckler goes 10 for 32 and 5 for 32 through the air, but loses a fumble. The receivers were good. We have Zay Flowers gets one carry for 37 yards and a touchdown. And then he goes 5 for 25 and a touchdown through the air. OBJ at 3 for 34. Bateman 2 for 21. Keenan Allen goes 14 for 106, but lost a fumble. Good God. Uh, Tight ends, Gerald Everett, 4 for 43 and a touchdown to save his day. Likely has basically the same stat line except without the touchdown, 4 for 40. The kickers, Tucker was average. He had 9 points. Dicker was disappointing with 4. Ravens, if you started their defense, they were good. They had an interception, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 recoveries, and 2 fourth down stops. That's a lot of fumbles. And the Chargers, if you started them, well, you're probably no longer paying attention to your league.
Yeah, I would say so. This
Nuts.
game. So I'll just do a tangent for a second. That fumble for what was not a fumble for AJ Brown and what was for Keenan Allen is so baffling to me because one makes a quote unquote football move because he turned upfield, the other
Did
one
you
he goes
tweet this?
sideways. Yeah, it pissed me off, dude. I was watching. I was like, "This is the stupidest rule. I hate this so
I
much
get
because
it. I seen it
so
earlier. I
annoying."
was driving around and I had my phone and I was just checking and I don't always I see the video, but I don't always see who's tweeting it. And I seen it and
Mhm.
I was like, that's interesting. And then you brought it up. I'm like, I think it was him who tweeted it.
Yep, it was me. I was like, I'm watching that and I'm like, this is so dumb. I was like, I hate this rule. So it's just convoluted with the catch nonsense, like how it's all complicated for catches. Like, I just wish they simplify that. But back to this game, it's really difficult for Herbert and the Chargers because they have no explosive players. Like Keenan Allen is their most explosive player, and they can't do it. It's just so they have these long methodical drives. It's the only way they score, which is baffling because Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But like you have Eckler, and I don't know what's going on with Eckler, but he just looks cooked at the moment. Maybe it's the high ankle sprain dealing with that, but he looked a lot better early in the year, so I don't think he all of a sudden he just got bad. I think it's just he's dealing with the injury, and it zaps his explosive ability. So it's that, and then you have Allen, who's literally what are these targets like 8 yards a target? Like this is just it's brutal. On the flip side, Ravens have these explosive players. Keaton Mitchell, he saw more snaps, so I didn't think he would actually take over this role, but now I think it's entirely possible he can get more work than Gus Edwards. So keep an eye on Mitchell moving forward. He actually cut into that early down work, which is good to see.
Gus
And
Edwards
Zay
only played
Flowers,
27% of snaps.
it's just weird. Yeah, like he was kind of like phased out in this game. I don't know
Justice
what
Hill
happened.
outsnapped him by 1%, and Keaton Mitchell had 46. That's a really, are they really doing a three-headed split here?
Yeah, it's legit like three-way split. So
It's
like
like
I just
50, 25, 25 with Mitchell in the lead, but that's
it
gross.
is
I don't want
weird.
any part of that. I don't care if Keaton Mitchell's explosive or not. I don't.
Yeah,
And
it's
you've seen what happens. Gus Edwards finally doesn't score 2 rushing touchdowns that he's
right
useless.
exactly. But yeah, like without Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, like he's got more vocal point. Like you saw him take the house call on the weird rushing play he had, which is nice to see because you're just getting an explosive player in space, and letting him do work. So that's nice to see for Zay Flowers. Like Zay Flowers is going to get a boost moving forward because he's by far the most talented player they have on offense. Like I know people love Beckham and Bateman, and Beckham wasn't bad actually. Like he started out early and then he disappeared, but it's just yeah, I think it's pretty much over for Rashad Bateman.
Well, that wraps up a rather ugly week. I can't remember ever seeing an uglier slate of games to recap.
Yeah,
Good
it's
God.
depressing.
Let's move on. It's going to be worse next week by Mageddon. So
Oof.
that concludes the NFL Week 12 Fantasy Football Game Recap Show. We will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, for our waiver wire show at Jesse 12, I think.
Yeah, I'm good for 12.
I think so. I think Jeremy said he's out, but so we'll be back at 12 or 12:30 tomorrow. Regardless, then I think we're off Wednesday and we come back Thursday, Friday for the NFC previews on Thursday, AFC previews on Friday, and the start sit show on Sunday at noon. So we're a little delayed getting this one out. We had some scheduling conflicts last night, but that concludes a wonderful week 12. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.